Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic. What was your it done helping others moment? Had a friend years ago who was a bit self-centered and prone to stretching the truth, but he was a nice enough guy with a rough backstory and my friend group liked him, so I cut him a lot of slack. I like to host and I have friends staying over pretty regularly back then. I usually had 1 or 2 people spending the night on any given day. Anyhow, over the span of a couple of years this guy starts abusing that staying over for days or even weeks at a time, eating my food and drinking my liquor without contributing, that sort of thing. While constantly talking about his grand plans and daydreams as if they'd already happened. A little sad, but also pretty annoying after a while. Anyhow, I sit him down one day and let him know he's got to head home, and that he's free to come over and hang out, but I'm not comfortable with him staying over for the time being. He leaves, I think it went remarkably well, and head out to work. And it turns out that he broke in while I was away at work and stole a bunch of my sister's things because his birthday was coming up and neither of us even thought to get him a gift. It takes a special person to rationalize how burglarizing someone is really their fault. Anyway, all slack and sympathy went out the window immediately. Called the cops and he's dead to me. His birthday was coming up and he read your minds to know you weren't going to give him a gift. Yes, well, happy birthday. We retroactively got you several months of squatting at our house bill free. Hope you liked it, you fucking mooch. When a good friend of mine that I worked under had cancer and wasn't able to pay some bills, I loaned her $200 just to help. I was only 18 at the time and felt bad because she had kids. It was right around the holidays and I just wanted to help however I could and be a good person in life. She promised to pay me back when she could. Turns out she lied about having cancer, was stealing from the company I worked at, scammed my other co-workers, and would come in after calling out of work for her chemo to make fraudulent returns while I was overseeing the store by myself because of her calling out. Got that bitch fired and got promoted to her position after. Finally a happy ending. Turns out she didn't have cancer, she was cancer. Had a newish neighbor ask if he could borrow our lawnmower. Sure. Well, more or less every week he would come and get it out of our garage, use it to cut his grass, put it away without cleaning it or adding gas. In the fall we mentioned it was a good time to get deals on a new mower. He never talked to us again. My next door neighbor is the opposite, which I am grateful for. I supply the mower, she mows both of our lawns, and we split the gas, when she lets me. I feel bad that she won't even let me give her gas money most of the time, especially since she is doing all of the manual labor. Edit, so, I just sent her a quick text today to ask her how much I owe her for gas. She replied that she is sticking her garbage in my garbage can. I forgot I told her she could, so I owe her nothing. You have to pay per garbage can here, nearly $4 per can, so it all evens out. Honestly, I'm with your neighbor. I love cutting my grass and often, I will cut my in-laws as well, they live next door. I enjoy it because it's relaxing and good exercise. I pop in an audiobook, pour a beer and go to town. If they buy gas, all the better. I'm a teacher. A parent of a former student contacted me in an emergency situation, couldn't afford to pay bills, and needed help. She was super helpful to me in my first year teaching, so I asked friends and family to help out and raised her about $2,000. Never again. She has contacted me every few weeks since then, always with a new reason why she needs more money, and when I offer food and clothing resources, she refuses it. It has placed me in such an awkward situation and I regret ever trying to help her out in the first place. Have you tried setting hard boundaries? I did a chunk of volunteer work where I was regularly dealing with people like that. They just keep popping up if they think they can pressure you or wear you down. Apply for resources and help through the local job and family services. I can't help you further. More than likely, you'll get an angry outburst where they try to push your boundaries and get you to cave. I would respond with bored indifference. Okay. I have work to do. Goodbye. And then hang up. Repeat that a couple times and they usually drop off. Don't offer anything, don't be nice, but don't be rude either because that gives them ammunition to complain to your supervisor about. Bored indifference and I gotta go. You may also want to let your supervisor, principal, know what's going on so they aren't surprised by a random complaint about you if she tries that angle to get even. I had a customer who used to show up and just wear me down until I gave him free stuff. He got so intrusive that even after I left that job he coerced my old co-worker into telling him where I work now. This dude had the audacity to call my work and left a message asking me to go scout out campsites for him. I ignored it and he then called over and over again. Finally my boss had to tell him to stop calling if it doesn't have anything to do with business. He kept trying, and eventually gave up. My mother and her new husband had moved into a new place and invited all the kids over for Christmas. In previous years we would buy a whole turkey dinner from somewhere so no one, me, had to cook, so imagine my surprise when my husband and I walk in. My mother walks out of the kitchen, hands me a spoon and says, "Good, you're finally here," and goes to sit down in the living room. After a quick and awkward conversation, it was determined that my job was to make sure everything currently in progress, or not even started, got to the table on time, while everyone else socialized. Basically, I was the help and should have realized that, so any feelings I had about that were my fault. I was a good cook, and my mother taught me everything, not, so I owed her. So I did, and not knowing the family dynamics, my new step-siblings were very thankful and appreciative of all my efforts, which caused a meltdown from my mother about how we all should be thanking her. That was the first time I used a phrase that has come in handy for these situations: "I'm so sorry, it will never happen again." And it never did. They weren't happy when they finally realized what that meant. This is selfish, but I wanna know what the fallout was like. I guess it depends on what you mean by fallout. She decided it was completely out of line for me to complain, and if that's how I felt, we could just stay home from now on. As you can imagine, I was completely crushed that I wasn't going to be used for labor anymore and went completely no contact the next holiday. Probably more to do with being in Cuba, but whatever. The next year was Dad's turn, then a trip to visit my Phil the year after. Then I ruined Christmas because I didn't want to spend time with my family. None of the others wanted to be kitchen bitch while she hosted. I never made her a meal again, but I know from my stepsister that she would get pissed off whenever one of my friends or family would make gushing posts Facebook of my dinners. And all because someone dared to thank me for cooking. When I had a truck during college, everyone suddenly wanted me to help move them. Most were cool and gave me money or ordered pizza, unprompted BTW. One time, however, some dude I barely knew needed some help. I show up, and nothing is packed in his apartment. He had a giant fish tank and lived on the 3rd floor with no elevator. It was a fucking nightmare and I never got a dime nor food or even some beers. I never talked to him after that. Shoulder left right then when you saw it like that. "Oh, looks like you haven't packed. I'll come back tomorrow when you need help moving." Maybe it's just me, but I love the word no. I have zero problems telling people no all the time. Bit of wisdom for ya: learn to say number. You can always change your mind, but once you say yes, you're committed. Edit, thanks for the awards and all the upvotes. I used to frequently stay late at work for clients who showed up to the veterinary clinic last minute with a non-emergency problem and no appointment. Then 3 times in a row, 3 different people were told up front about the after-hours fee, agreed to pay it instead of scheduling an appointment for the next day, and all of them called back the next day fussing that they shouldn't have been charged extra for keeping us 30 to 60 minutes past our scheduled hours and that we were terrible and trying to scam them by charging for our time, even though we told them up front and they had another option. It was exhausting and demoralizing. We did more than we had to for them after already working a full day because a desire to help is why we're all here in the first place, and they responded by saying our time was worth nothing and we suck. The entire staff said fuck that. Now unless it's a literal life and death situation, if we can't fit someone in before closing and they didn't have an appointment, it's a firm number. I'm in this profession to help others and I still work late for real emergencies when they happen or if an appointment runs longer than expected, but I'm done sacrificing my personal time for entitled people who don't actually need it. Edited to clarify, the people did pay, but they were calling later to complain about it and demand a refund or say they were cancelling the transaction on their card. Instead of dealing with the headache anymore, we stopped giving non-emergency walk-ins the option of being seen after hours. No animals were harmed and the staff, and their families, are all much happier. Thanks for what you do. My cousin is a vet and his schedule is so fucked because of these types of clients. The clinic he works for only schedules appointments for half of the day and the other half is set up for walk-ins. It switches between morning and afternoon depending on the doctor. Sometimes he comes home at 6 and some nights it isn't until 9 or 10. He says there are just some cases that you know are going to take all day and there isn't anything you can do to help. Those are always the thankless cases. It is pretty draining on him and the rest of their team. It sucks that the bad clients and experiences are what stick out and are easier to remember. I guess I just want to say there are tons of people who are so grateful for the time and effort you put in.